Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day's going wonderful. I'm so glad you're joining me for another 5 easy step card tutorial. Today we're making a fall-ish kind of a card. My card is, I say ish because I'm using some non-traditional fall colors, but at the end I'll show you a project that I created using definitely fall colors. So with autumn around the corner, leaves aren't falling yet over here. We're green as green can be, but I guess now's the time that we start making our fall cards. So let's jump in and get started. We're using some Stampers Anonymous stamps. This is called Nature's Wonder, and then Simon Says Stamp does have the coordinating die that goes with them. They're kind of collaborating together. I just love that. So you could actually die cut out your images with the Simon Says Stamp dies that coordinate. And then for my home panel, we're gonna doctor that up with some plaids. I've had this stamp set forever. It's actually 2 plaids. If you love plaids, this is the stamp set for you. They're clean rubber and great plaid backgrounds. Let's jump in and get started with step number 1, and we're going to create our focal point, and we're just going to do some stamping. The nice thing about this stamp set, if you want to remove the backing sheet, you can. It's very easily removed. And then this actually has 3 holes that you could put in a binder, and I think that's really neat. I went ahead and picked out my leafy images. I picked 3 of them, and they're all pretty good sizes, but really any of these leaf images would work for today's card. And I'm going to be stamping not on white cardstock today, but this is Spellbinder Seaside cardstock. Let's go ahead and take an acrylic block, and we're going to stamp all 3 of our leaves. For the bigger one here, I'm going to use my Simon Says Stamp Raindrop ink, which is a dark teal. And you know, I have glitter on here somehow. I'm going to remove it with my craft pick, because I will have a little circle there. We will just ink this up. I will stamp this in the corner here. Look at the detail that that has. I mean, amazing, amazing detail. Okay, I'm going to clean this off, and then I'm going to stamp our next one. These clean up really well. I'm using micellar water, which is a gentle face cleaner that I mix with regular water. But look how they clean up really, really easily. Okay, we'll put this back. And then we are going to stamp this one that kind of looks like a maple leaf. We're going to get inky today. For this one, we're going to use a lighter teal. This is Tide Pool. Lovely. Okay, and then our third leaf, we are going to use a gray ink. I'm using my Simon Says Stamp Earl. I'm going to bring in a couple of different colors. We'll stamp this here. I'm going to take the coordinating die set, and we're going to die cut out all 3 of our images here. Okay, we'll just pop these out, and that is going to make, oops, kind of crooked a little here. Okay, so this is going to make our great focal point. What I'm going to do is layer them together in a little leafy cluster. I think that's going to look nice, so I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to put foam tape behind here, and the foam tape will secure all 3 of these together, but it'll also give me dimension. And that will be my focal point. We're going to put this to the side and move along to step number 2 and create our home panel. Now my home panel, we're going to do some stamping with the This is called the Perfect Plaids stamp set, and I'm going to use this one for my background. And I'm also going to be using my Spellbinders Fog cardstock. So this is a pale gray. I'm going to use my Earl ink, and we're just going to go over this. This is one of those cards where you could actually use your Distress Oxide inks too. I'm going to add my panel, and then I'm just going to use my brayer and go over this. Give this a good press. And that makes a great background. We do need to trim this down. So I'll bring in my paper trimmer. And we will trim, I'm going to trim a little bit off here. And then I'm going to flip it around. We'll trim a little bit off here. You know, I want a 3-inch panel. So I'm going to trim this off here. And then I'm going to trim some off the top. And I'm not worried about the length of it because we're going to end up trimming this a little bit. We're going to create, whenever I do something with Tim Holtz, I always want to tear paper. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to tear my paper today. So what I'm going to do is take this panel, and I'm going to just start on this side, and I'm going to tear at an angle. Let's see. I'm going to tear towards me. There we go. And I'm going to keep this piece because we're actually going to use it. Let's trim this down. Let's trim this down to a 3/4 inch strip. I'm going to flip it around. And we'll trim this, maybe a 1-inch, no, 3/4 inch strip here. Okay. We're going to make a banner out of this. So 3/4 inches is what we need. Now after we have this done, I am going to take my Earl ink, and all I'm going to do is go over the edges, just kind of intensifying the edges. And I'm going to go over the ripped area too. While I'm at it, I'm going to take this piece. On this bottom edge, I'm going to fishtail it. And then I'm going to cut it in half. And then I'm going to go around the edges of this also. Now we're going to take this piece, and I'm going to mat it on some white cardstock. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to line this up so it's evenly spaced along the sides and the bottom, and then I'm going to use my, and then I'm going to tear it here on top, and then I'm going to tear it here. Kind of gives me, actually the ink itself kind of gives me a little marker guide. Okay, and then I'm just going to tear this paper also. The nice thing about tearing is you can always go back and tear a little more. But I think that's going to work great too. I'm going to use my tape runner, and we're going to adhere this piece to this one. The grid lines here. I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to add a little glue, and I'm going to add a little glue to this banner here on top. And we are going to layer this on the bottom. I just want a little bit of that banner peeking out. And then I will layer this over here at the top. Just like that. So now we have a banner connected to our home panel. Now I'm going to take my focal point, my focal image, and I'm going to put it down here on this bottom corner. And I think I'm going to bring in a little bit more white. Let me find a leaf die set. Okay, I'm bringing in my Simon Says Stamp Etched Meadow Flower and Leaves die. I've used this several times, but I'm just going to use the leaves in here. The leaves are really pretty. So I'm going to die cut these out with white cardstock. This is a great way to add some more white in my background. And so we're going to I'll do that and I'll be right back. We're just going to trim a little bit off the bottom. Okay. We're going to add our leaves under here. There we go. I think it kind of just balances out. Just a few little white leaves. Okay. So we have our home panel is all done along with our focal point. Now we're going to move along to step number 3 and we are going to create our sentiment. For my sentiment, let's bring in our stamp set. And for this one, I thought we're going to stamp Never Lose Your Sense of Wonder from our stamp set. I have to tell you, when I seen this, I thought of that Leanne, I think her name is Leanne Womack, who sang that song. It's a very beautiful song. And I wish that for my girls. If you guys have never heard that song, it has the phrase, never lose your sense of wonder in it. I'm going to use my black ink because I want this to stand out. So I'm going to use my Simon Says Stamp Nocturne ink. VersaFine Clair. Down here in the corner. Lovely. Okay, and then I'm just going to use my scissors. I'm going to trim the bottom a little bit. And then I'm going to trim these into 2 different sentiments. Just like that. You could use your paper trimmer if you want, but if this is a little crooked, it really doesn't bother me. Not for this card, because it's going to be a little bit more on the mixed media side. So I'm going to take my Earl ink and I'm going to go over the edges here. So now we have our greetings, and I did put foam tape behind here. And I always say this, if you don't like a lot of dimensions, you can skip adding foam tape to this piece and skip it from adding it to our greeting too. But I like the dimension it adds. And I'm going to place these just kind of wonky here over our leaves. Looks like we're covering up our beautiful focal point, but no worry, because our leaves are going to be in our background too. And speaking of background, we're going to move along to step number 4 and create it. We're bringing in an A2 panel of our Seaside cardstock and using the same images and the same colors of ink that we used for our focal image. We're going to stamp a full background. First off, let's grab an acrylic block here. I'm gonna let's stamp our gray leaf first. Let's ink this one up with gray. And I'm gonna just fill the background here. The nice thing about these images is they can overlap. Now let's stamp with Tide Pool. I think we're going to go around the perimeter first. Just kind of fill it in. I think we're going to do one more up here in the corner. We're going to go over our last leaf with our raindrop ink, which is a darker teal. And let's just stamp over here. I just think this looks so pretty. I'm going to fill in this area. And then I'm also going to fill in this area over here. We'll stamp over here. And that makes a fabulous background that we're going to go ahead and adhere to the front of our card base. Now we're going to take our home panel and our focal image. Now I'm going to center this as if it's in, we're going to center this in the square here. Now this may overlap on top, and that's okay. I just want to make sure that it's centered. And I do have a little overhanging, which I will just trim off. And I'm loving, now again, I have lots of layers here, but I don't mind layers. You can completely skip out the foam tape and just adhere it straight to create the card that you want. But dimension for me is always nice. Now we're going to move along to step number 5, and we're going to embellish. I want to bring a little something to my card, and so to do that I'm bringing in some Simon Iridescent cord. This is very inexpensive, and you get a whole lot in here, and it ties beautiful bows, and I love how soft it looks. It kind of picks up the teal in here. And then to go with it, I'm going to be using my Simon Says Stamped Starbright Embellishment Mix. Starbright are a deep cup. These sequins have a deep, they're not flat, they're very cupped. But I like that because it kind of looks like diamonds. Let me show you. It's kind of hard to tell on camera, but they kind of look like diamonds when you adhere them. So we're going to embellish with this. I'm going to double up and create a bow with my iridescent cord. Just like that. When I make a double bow, I always like to pull one string so that one of the loops is smaller. Okay, and then we will just trim the tails. And I'm going to bring in a glue dot, and then we're just going to tack this down. Right here is a great place. You can kind of see how it, it picks up that color really pretty. Okay, and then we're going to use our glue, and then we're going to add a few little sequins here in our background. Okay, so now we have a little bit of sparkle in there. And that will finish off my card project today using the Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous Nature's Wonder cling stamp, along with the Simon Says Stamp Nature's Wonder coordinating die. And I hope this gives you a little bit of fall inspiration that's not so fall. Oh, and before I go, I do want to mention the other card that I made with browns. I almost forgot. This is the one I made that was brown. More traditional fall colored cards. What I did was basically the same. I used some Spellbinders gold mix gems, and then I also used some gold DMC floss for this one. But just used browns and maybe a little bit of a rust color for this card. So those are my projects today. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I have 2 more videos that you guys might be interested here. If you guys are new and like the content that you see, click that subscribe button and also the notification bell. That way for future videos, be notified. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It sure does help the channel. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.